Okay guys, so by now I'm sure everybody has seen the Peacemaker trailer in its entirety. I've watched it a couple of times, I've watched a couple breakdowns of it. So we're going to be talking about it in this trailer, and I'm also going to be talking about a couple of other things surrounding Peacemaker and the conversations going on Twitter. As always guys, there's going to be codes in this video. Probably only be like one code in this video because it's not going to be too long, so look out for that. And if you're lucky enough to get your hands on it, let me know. Send me a message on Discord. Also, let me just apologize because for whatever reason, my neighbors must not like me. I think Booty Hunter or Fate is sending them over to my videos every time I record, because you'll probably hear in the background they've pulled out the drill again. Not only that, they've got a hammer now, so I apologize for the noise in the background, but we'll try to get through this in relative peace. So I watched the trailer when it came out yesterday, and I watched it a couple times. As I said, I watched the breakdowns that people made of it. Took some time to digest what I was looking at, and now I feel like I've got a more full opinion on Peacemaker and how I feel about his inclusion. Now obviously, to start on a positive note, having John Cena in a fighting game is insane to me. Like, I grew up watching the WWE. I was a very big John Cena fan. Even when people turned against him, I loved Super Cena. I loved his rivalries with Edge, everything that he did with Batista. You know, John Cena's career was really like one of the highlights of the WWE in the time that I was watching it anyway. Even now, seeing him when he comes back, it's always exciting. So to see Peacemaker in the game, I can't lie to you guys, as much as I don't like Mortal Kombat 1, it's really cool. Now the Peacemaker character himself, I'm not as familiar with. I have read a couple of like graphic novels or comics with Peacemaker because I used to be a big collector, and Peacemaker's always been a cool character. I think he has become much cooler since John Cena took over the role. I think John Cena's absolutely smashed the role. I have seen a little bit of the show and I think he's really funny in it. I think he's really expressive, and in his opening animations on this game, I think they got that down really well. Like when you're seeing his intros, I like the fact that he voices everything that he does. I think that's really cool. And Peacemaker's a very well loved character, so this trailer is going to do very well regardless of what people might think about Mortal Kombat. Even I was kind of excited to see John Cena in a video game, so that's on a positive note. Now the trailer was put together very well. There's a couple of Easter eggs in there which I'll point out for anyone that might have missed them, and I think they did a good job representing how Peacemaker is in the TV show. It was a decent enough job in my opinion. Unfortunately, the animations on him look very janky, and he looks very reminiscent of Terminator to me. There's a couple of animations in there that I feel like I've seen before. Now there is enough in there to say that he is his own character, and although I feel like they represented his special moves pretty well, the way he plays looks really bland and boring. It doesn't really have any oomph to it, outside again of them nailing his personality in his intros. His actual gameplay looks quite boring, and to me it's not the special moves that make the character, it's everything in between, and it does look very similar to Terminator to me. Again, the animations in Mortal Kombat, I have really soured on them over the years. I do think Mortal Kombat 1 definitely improved from Mortal Kombat 11, but I don't think it's a big enough improvement. I think the overemphasis on hyper photorealistic graphics really just doesn't work for fighting games, in my opinion anyway. Not for Mortal Kombat. Some of the animations look a bit odd when he's shooting. There's a part where he shoots Melina 3 times, and on the last hit she sort of teleports to the ground, and I was like, that looks weird. Now to be fair, on the flip side, the one part I did really like was I liked his throw animation. I thought that was pretty cool, gave me Captain America vibes. And when he's interacting with Janet Cage at the beginning of the trailer, I thought the juggles looked really cool. So there's a couple of positives in there, but mostly negatives in terms of like general presentation and how the character's moving around the screen. I did like the choke slam. It would have been cool if they got like an FU or an attitude adjustment in there just as a little nod to John Cena, but maybe it will be in there, maybe it won't, we'll see. Talking about Janet Cage's inclusion in this game, I was a bit perplexed as to why they even thought it was a good idea. Now originally, if you guys remember, Johnny Cage was the one that was advertised as the cameo for Mortal Kombat 1, and that was changed to Janet Cage. Now I always had a problem with cameos being the same as the characters on the main roster, and I know that's not an opinion that everyone shares, and I've shared that opinion before, and a lot of people don't really agree with me, but I always wanted the cameos to be completely separate from the main roster. I didn't want there to be a Scorpion, Kung Lao, Sub-Zero situation, because then I was like, well, you might as well just do it for every character at that point. I wanted cameo to be completely unique. They gender bend Johnny Cage in a way that I don't think anybody really wanted. Nobody wanted Janet Cage at all, and after seeing the gameplay of Janet Cage, even though there are some cool things in there, it looks like you can get some cool juggles, I really just don't see why they didn't just do Johnny Cage instead. So I'm not particularly chuffed about Janet Cage's inclusion in the game. I also think she looks a little bit weird. Some people have been saying that this is a self-insert of 16-bit. Stephanie, I don't know the second name, but the individual that sits on the Kombat cast, when people have zoomed into the face, they're saying that it looks very reminiscent of Stephanie. And I can kind of see where they're coming from, to be honest with you. It's not unusual for developers or people that work in companies to insert themselves in games. I'm never a fan of it. I always dislike it unless I've got a strong like for the person. Like, for example, Harada was in Soul Calibur 5, I believe. He was in one of the battle towers or whatever they used to be called, and I like Harada, so I was like, whatever, who cares. But Stephanie's inclusion, I can't say that I'm very chuffed about it. If Janet Cage is actually supposed to be a self-insert, I can definitely see where people are coming from, but it is a little bit of speculation right now, so I won't speak about that for too long. I did like the things that Janet Cage was doing though. There was a little throwback to the original Mortal Kombat 1 games where she's jumping and she's continuously doing that odd looking punch. That's actually something that Johnny Cage used to do in the old Mortal Kombat games. So I did think that that was a cool inclusion. I've given my thoughts on Peacemaker briefly, and I've given my thoughts on Janet Cage. And whilst it is exciting to see John Cena in a fighting game, I still will not be playing this game. I don't think there's a single character in existence that can bring me back to this game. And as exciting as it is to see someone that I grew up watching in wrestling in a video game, it's just not enough for me. But we'll keep my personal feelings aside. We'll stay on topic now because there's been a lot of reactions to this. So before I get onto the announcements of Crossplay, I'm going to talk about some of the reactions that we've been seeing to the Janet Cage / Peacemaker trailer. So here we can see Sonic Fox says, well, he looks like an insane setup character, definitely super interested to try him out. So Sonic Fox is excited to see Peacemaker. I am kind of excited to see John Cena in a fighting game, but that's again because of my bias to the WWE. And then you see some criticism here. So they say MK1 is just a disappointment, followed by female Cage is such a waste of a cameo slot. Now, I have actually seen very mixed reactions towards this trailer online. I've seen both positive and negative, and I went through Twitter. There was over 17,000 replies to this, so I didn't go through all of them, but I went through a brief amount, and from what I could see, it was quite mixed. There seemed to be a healthy amount of people that were excited, a lot of people that are in the same boat as me saying it's exciting to see John Cena in a fighting game, but he looks weird. And then you've got people saying he looks like a very cool setup character, like you saw what Sonic Fox was saying. And then you've got people that are just outright disappointed. Jefferson Lee here, for example, says super disappointed. It's Terminator from Mortal Kombat 11, but in a Peacemaker avatar. And then Shred says Peacemaker looks cool, but nobody asked for Janet. Cassie Cage is like, right there, should have used her. Now, I am not in agreement with that at all, because nobody liked Cassie Cage either. Just because we got a bigger pile of dog shit now does not mean that dog shit did not exist in the past. Cassie Cage was not a well-received character, despite what people might be saying on Twitter. I'll remember her in Mortal Kombat 11 and how much people hated her. So if you're going to include a Cage, it might as well just be Johnny. As much as I don't like seeing repeat characters in the cameos, if you're going to include a Cage, it may as well be the original Johnny with the green aura. For my money, it should have been a completely different character, someone that is never going to make the main roster but people would like to see. For example, I think Motaro was an excellent inclusion for cameos, because it doesn't make sense to cut off Motaro's legs like they did in Armageddon and include him in the main roster, but it also doesn't make sense to have a character like that just never appear in Mortal Kombat again. So making him a cameo was the perfect fit. And there are other characters that are never going to appear on the main roster again. They're certainly not going to appear on the Mortal Kombat 1 roster, but they have a space there for them in cameos, and I think they can utilize some of the characters that maybe we'll never see again. Maybe they can redesign people that we weren't very fond of. I mean, they brought back Darius, and I didn't really like Darius. I thought he was a bit of a throwaway character, but you know what? His inclusion in the cameos, I didn't actually mind very much. So that's just a thought there. Maybe some people would disagree, but that's how I look at it. Brusque Poet says, don't let Twitter gaslight you into thinking no one is hyped for Peacemaker. If you stepped outside your bubble for literally a millisecond, you would see that it's just not true. Take a look at the quote and comments under this tweet. Now, I hear what he's saying, but the problem is that you're stepping out of one bubble and you're entering another. Twitter is a bubble. The real test of this character is going to be the month following. So we will check the numbers back after Peacemaker has come out. Now, what I anticipate happening is because Peacemaker is a very beloved character and John Cena is a very beloved individual, people are going to log back into this game to give it a try. That is 100% going to happen. I won't be one of those people. I'm staying firm on my stance. I'm not putting any more Mortal Kombat 1 footage of my own on this channel. But I can see a lot of people doing that. But I can also see people going, oh, well, you know, John Cena's a lot of fun, Peacemaker's cool, but it's still Mortal Kombat 1, it's still frustrating, and things are maybe not working as we would like. And they play him for 30 days and they're out. People are very happy that John Cena is voicing Peacemaker, which is, it's not a big deal, but at the same time it kind of is, because we know Homelander's not being voiced by his actor, and we know that Arnold never voiced Terminator, so it is nice to know that John Cena did voice the character. There's more positive responses here, saying that they're very happy that they Crossplay succeeded in making Peacemaker look very cool in the game, and they did make him look pretty cool in the game, I will admit. Ed Boon tweeting saying, "Thank you for giving Peace a chance," and obviously Peacemaker was trending in the United States. There were over 17,000 tweets regarding him. People are definitely going to give it a chance because John Cena is a household name. He's a 16-time World Heavyweight Champion. He's a Hall of Famer, he's a bona fide Hall of Famer at this point. People are going to tune in for John Cena, but will John Cena be able to retain players? That is the question. And to be honest with you, I don't even think The Rock would retain players at this point. I don't think anybody's going to stick around. I think people would tune in. I don't think that they're going to stick around though. Then you have some more negative responses here. So this is regarding Peacemaker's animations. Now I put in Peacemaker Animation into Twitter because I was interested to see if anybody felt the way I felt about the way he's animated during the fight. This guy said Peacemaker's animations look dog shit. Female version of the corniest white man you've ever seen. Her animations look dog shit too. I don't mind Johnny Cage personally. You know, he's corny, but he's funny corny. I've always liked Johnny Cage. Janet Cage, I don't think is going to be very well received. I don't think people are going to play her unless she's absolutely busted. She doesn't look like the kind of character I want on my team, despite the moveset. I am also concerned about aesthetic as well. Like, I am more concerned about gameplay, don't get me wrong. But if the character looks like an idiot, I don't really want to play them. I don't want to be rocking with this character. And that might be a bit weird for some of you to understand, but just think of like Kazuya, for example. He's very difficult to use, but he's so cool that people invest time to playing him because he looks cool, he animates well. Janet Cage looks lame. She looks lame. Like the actual model looks lame, so I can understand why people wouldn't want to use her. This person says Peacemaker's animations look boring and Janet Cage as well. And yeah, Peacemaker does look boring in the actual gameplay. I think they nailed the special moves in terms of getting the moves in there. You know, he uses a lot of the things that you see in the TV show, but the actual normal moves and the way he interacts on the stage, it just doesn't have any it looks very plain and boring. This person says Peacemaker's animations are so good until boom gameplay footage, and that's basically what I just said. Got more responses here saying, bad animation aside, Peacemaker looks like possibly the most boring character in the game, just utterly sourceless combos and jank animation, but yeah, he's got a cool fatality and constant references, so Mortal Kombat fans will just eat it up. At least they're not pretending to try anymore. And then Onryo says, I don't know, it really honestly looks like Peacemaker's just using Terminator's animations. Also sad because people are going to think he's a boring character just by watching his gameplay when he's a hilarious motherfucker. Now I will say that don't watch the gameplay of this and then make a judgment for the actual character. Peacemaker himself and the TV show and John Cena's portrayal of Peacemaker is actually really, really cool. Then you have these people here saying these animations for Peacemaker in the new MK1 trailer are a little rough, I'm not gonna lie. Nah, Peacemaker's animations look like trash. Janet Cage should have been the DLC character instead. Still we wait for Cassie. And why is Peacemaker almost exclusively reused animations from Terminator, Atom, Spawn and Robocop? Half the work, half the price. Cassie Cage should not have been the DLC character, nor should Janet Cage. Both of those characters should be scrapped in my opinion. They're not what people want. I think people would rather Sonya Blade, if I'm being 100% honest with you. Maybe not Sonya in her current iteration, maybe not Sonya in her MK11 iteration, but classic Sonya, I think people still have fond memories of her. So the positive and negative was kind of a 50-50 on Twitter. I wouldn't say it went completely one way. Now I only saw a sample of tweets because I'm not going to read through 17,000 tweets. Obviously that would be insane. But moving on from that, we then got an announcement for Crossplay. Now this was really weird to me. Why would you not announce to the world, considering the Peacemaker trailer is still trending on YouTube? It has almost 2 million views on YouTube and it has multiple thousands of views across Twitter and other places that have uploaded it. Why would you not put in the trailer Crossplay next week? Instead you go to Twitter to announce it. That makes no sense to me whatsoever. That seems like the people over there just don't understand how to market things or get messages across. A fraction of the people are going to see this tweet versus the actual trailer. That should have been in the trailer front and center because it's the main thing people have been asking for. People are more concerned with fixing this game and getting basic features implemented than John Cena, than getting a whole character. That's how down bad this game is. So the Mortal Kombat 1 official Twitter account tweeted, with peace comes crossplay. The feature will be included in next week's patch and supported between PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S and PC, Steam and Epic Game Store. More details coming early next week. Now the details are going to be very important because simply implementing crossplay unfortunately is not going to be enough. Now one thing to notice there is that they said PS5, they said Xbox and they said PC, but there is another console that Mortal Kombat 1 is on. and that is the Nintendo Switch. Now, I never really understood why they released this game on the Nintendo Switch to begin with. It made no sense to me whatsoever, and when it came out and we saw the state it was in, I was like, yeah, I kind of expected that. I mean, MK11 didn't look particularly great on the Switch, so I knew MK1 was going to look about as bad. It came out looking worse than MK11, which was actually quite hilarious, but I just don't know why they bothered, and you can see here they've kind of given up on it. Now, I don't really understand the Nintendo's infrastructure and how it would communicate with the PlayStation and the Xbox, and maybe there's no way for them to actually do it. I don't think I've ever known a game to function between PlayStation and Nintendo or Xbox and Nintendo, although I might be wrong on that. But I suspect the infrastructure doesn't allow them to do it, which would raise the question as to why would you even bother releasing the game on there? I mean, the target audience for Mortal Kombat is not on the Nintendo Switch. I struggle to believe that that game would have broken 1 million sales on the Nintendo Switch. I did try to look for the figures on that, but I'm not sure where to find them. Now, they did price this absolutely diabolically on the Nintendo Switch. It was shambolic on all accounts, and it was like $70. And I was like, that's absolutely outrageous. So I can't imagine a lot of people purchased it, especially in the state that it was in. Now, it's nice that crossplay is coming, don't get me wrong. It's unfortunate it's coming to a game that people don't want to play, but it's good that they're implementing it. It's not really good that it's taken them this long to implement a feature that should have been in the game from the get-go. Its main competitors, Street Fighter 6 and Tekken 8, both had crossplay from the get-go, functioning completely fine. Question that was raised on Twitter was, will lobbies and online practice come with it too? And that is a big question. Now, there's been a lot of rumblings online that not all modes are going to have access to crossplay, and there may not be a fix for the King of the Hill situation, which is going to piss people off a lot, because King of the Hill is very important for A, streamers and YouTubers, and B, people that do tournaments. And if crossplay is not going to work in King of the Hill or whatever other modes you might be adding or might already be there, it's not going to be good enough. You can't have crossplay in just one place, it has to work everywhere. And I think people are really concerned about that. Now, they have said there are going to be more details next week. I assume that's when they're going to do a Kombat cast. I don't think they're going to do a Kombat cast for Peacemaker. As a matter of fact, I would be shocked if they did a Kombat cast at all, actually, and have the chat section open. If NRS can have the chat section open during a Kombat cast after all the hate they have received, they'll earn back a little bit of my respect, because I can only imagine how much flames are going to be in that chat, and it'll be exciting to see. But I think they should do it. I think they should show they have a backbone and a spine, because they've been quiet for a long time. There are other things that are missing from Mortal Kombat 1. For example, here it says, now all we need are lobbies and online practice. Not having online practice, again, shambolic behavior in 2024. It's just unacceptable. When you're considered one of the big three and you are the main American fighting game, it's just ridiculous that your Japanese competitors are stomping all over you like this. I did see this tweet here from Brusque Poet and this other individual called Joe. Joe says, remember Brusque, the game is dead, and Brusque replies, no one is excited for Peacemaker. I actually think it's a bit of a silly thing to say, because Brusque has made the point that, oh, you know, this game is trending on YouTube, and Mortal Kombat has always done well trailer-wise. Even the Quan Chi trailer did good numbers. Quan Chi is not like a mainstream character, I would say. I think people that play fighting games know who Quan Chi is, but he's not John Cena. But if you put anybody in this game, like say for example, they announced John Wick, it's going to trend, because A, the name Mortal Kombat carries heavy weight. Despite the reputation of the game being damaged, you could add The Rock to this, it will trend, despite the damage they've done to the reputation. The problem here, and the problem that I think a lot of people are not understanding, is that Mortal Kombat can grasp the attention of people. It's one of those games where you look and you sort of awe at what you're seeing because of the violence and the over-the-top movesets and whatever, at least the special moves anyway. And then the inclusion of guest characters that come from well-known TV shows like The Boys, like Peacemaker, and even the other games they had where they had Alien and Predator. People are going to turn around. My mum was like, oh my god, they put an Alien and Predator in Mortal Kombat, and she watched the trailer. The problem is not Mortal Kombat getting people's attention. The problem is not Mortal Kombat putting on trailers that do thousands, millions of views. The problem is that Mortal Kombat can't retain people's attention because there's no depth in anything. And that is the issue here. And that's something that I think Brusque Poet is overlooking. Mortal Kombat is always going to trend on Twitter. That's not what we need now. It's a given. What we need for Mortal Kombat is we need for people to stick around, and the only way people are going to stick around is if they build more robust, more nuanced and more complex systems. Now, we've seen that casual players will stick around for Tekken, and Tekken is not without its problems, and I've got a video coming up about the problems both in gameplay and infrastructure that I have with Tekken. But for all the problems that Tekken might have, and there aren't too many of them, it has done a very good job at retaining people. Post story mode, post arcade lobby, post Tekken lounge, post character episodes, post all of that, even after everyone's has messed around with the jukebox, customized their characters, done whatever they want to do, people are sticking around for the gameplay. And there's a very, very good reason for that. Now, I'm going to do videos on all of these things, but that's one thing that I think people need to understand, is that player retention is very, very important. So that's pretty much what I wanted to say about the new trailer. Again, like I said, there are some positives. For me, it's very cool to see someone like John Cena in a fighting game. It's unfortunate he's in a fighting game that I don't like, but there are some positives to his inclusion in there, and I hope that this is the beginning of them turning things around and maybe implementing things into Mortal Kombat 1 that go a long way in buying back goodwill. I don't think you can save the game. I highly doubt you can even salvage it, but if Mortal Kombat 1 can end its life and end its journey in a good state, that will make me think, okay, cool, they started really bad with MK1. They messed up and they weren't listening to the consumers for whatever reason. But by the end of MK1, they switched it around, and I can feel a little bit more confident that MK2 or MK12 or 13 or whatever they decide to call it, I've lost track of numbers at this point, I'll invest time into it and I'll be like, okay, they've learned from their mistakes somewhat. So we'll see. We'll see what the crossplay details entail. We will see if they have been listening to consumer feedback, or if they're going to come out and pretend like it's all sunshine and rainbows, because at that point you can believe that me and Tom Brady will be on another podcast absolutely flaming them. Now, if they do a Kombat cast, which me and Tom Brady were speaking about in private and we were speculating if they'll do it, then we're going to do an episode on here and on his channel, so stick around for that if they decide to do it. I'm doubtful because we haven't heard anything yet, but we shall see. Anyways guys, thank you for tuning into the video. I hope you guys have a good day. Take care and peace.